right, No, you sound nice and clear, bro. Doing good for a senior citizen, man. You know my life. Glad to be here, bro. No problem, no problem. Let me just look up something real quick.
I'll always love you, yeah, yeah. We were in the 7th grade. Remember all the games we played?
Let's print this off.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Get Ready. I'm your host, KCOG. We're going to kick the program off with a little music just to kind of get you guys introduced to the artist, you might say. Brother Les McCann and Eddie Harrison compared to what? One of my favorite pieces from back in the day. Stay with me. We're going to listen to this for a minute and then we'll get on into the show.
Love the lie and lie the love are hanging on, we push and shove. Possession is the motivation that is hanging up the goddamn nation. Looks like we always end up in a rut. Everybody now trying to make it real compared to what? Come on, baby. Slaughterhouses are killing hoes, twisted children are killing frogs, poor dumb rednecks rolling logs, tired old ladies kissing dogs. I hate the human love of that stinking mud. I can't use it, trying to make it real compared to what? Come on, baby. President, he's got his war. Folks don't know just what it's for. Nobody gives us a rhyme or reason. Have one doubt, they call it treason. With chicken feathers all without one gut. God damn it, trying to make it real compared to what suck it to me. Duck the wrath of God. Preachers filling us with pride. They all trying to teach us what they think is right. They really got to be some kind of nut. I can't use it. I'm trying to make it real compared to what other men
Brother Dean. I didn't realize you couldn't hear the music.
That's
Give me a
okay.
moment and we'll just get
where's
right
that
into the
bee
program,
and where's
okay?
that honey? Where's my God and where's my money? Unreal values are crashed to store.
As long as I can hear you.
Well, as long as you can hear me, we're good. That's a good thing. Give me just another moment. We can go ahead and get things kicked off. Good evening. It's the Kansas City OG. That OG again stands for Opinionated Grandpa. Here talking with one of my grandsons. We got the wrong file there. I just got this all messed up tonight. Let's just go ahead and get into it. For those who are not familiar with Brother Mickey Dean, this brother has been working tirelessly in our community over the years. Not only has this brother committed himself to help mentoring our young people, this brother has also made a career of civil rights and justice, and even what he decided to do for a living, because this is attorney Mickey Dean. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and give the brother a chance to introduce himself, and let's go ahead and get things rolling here.
First of all, Brother Carlos, thank you for having me. I appreciate these platforms where our people can say what's on our mind. You know, we get shut out of the mainstream media quite a bit, and so one of the good things about the new technology and social media is that we create our own platform. We don't have to wait, beg folks to get on their shows and so forth. So I just appreciate all the efforts of people like yourself in exploring these options, and I'm willing to participate at any time.
Thank you very much for those comments, brother. And actually, you have been very busy with the media of late. Unfortunately, since you weren't hearing the sound, I'm not going to be able to play the actual clip, but you recently had an interview, I believe it was Channel 9 TV here locally.
Yeah, we're doing some work on reparations, and they wanted to get an update. And so we did an interview down at the Black Archives.
Yes, and you were very clear in your position on reparations. And that's one of the things we're going to get to. But before we get to that, I want to really get into the history of the National Black United Front, just so that people understand a little bit about where that organization was about. And then we're going to turn and get into the local chapter of the Black United Front. And I'm not going to go all the way back to, I believe, 1987, 88, 89 when I met you guys. I believe it was around that time, because I was just starting to complete my degree over at UMKC in accounting. So let's start with the national chapter. Could you give them a little background on the national chapter, how it was created, where was it created from, and where is it today, by the way?
Well, a little history. You're old enough, like myself, to remember the Black Power movement that emerged in the late 60s and early 70s. I know this is at a time when I was just getting into college, and there were groups around, the Black Panther Party, the Republic of New Africa, just so many Black nationalist, revolutionary-oriented groups that proliferated during that time period. Fast forward to the 80s, and two things happened. One was repression. There was a counterintelligence program, the FBI's program, to basically try to destroy the Black liberation movement, and they did a pretty decent job of it. And then the second thing was that a lot of the sisters and brothers decided to slip on off into corporate America, regular Americans, just do their thing, which was cool. But by the 80s, by the late 70s, early 80s, the Black Power movement had dissipated quite a bit. There were still groups around the country that were trying to stay in the tradition of Marcus Garvey, independence and liberation, Malcolm X, etc. But we were scattered, and we had some people here in Kansas City that was trying to do that work. And so a decision was made back in, I think, around 1979 to try to pull together all of the people who were still true to the whole movement for Black liberation, independence, and pull them together into a single group. And so there were a lot of meetings that were held in late 1979, and a decision was made to form the National Black United Front. The original convention was held in Brooklyn, New York in 1980, and that was the formal founding of the National Black United Front. Reverend Herbert Daughtry was the chair. He was succeeded later on by Dr. Conrad Worrell, who's an ancestor now, and then our current chair, Brother Kofi Taharki, who's based in Houston. There was a brother here in Kansas City named Lloyd Daniel. Lloyd attended, he was the only person from Kansas City to attend that initial convention in Brooklyn, and he came back and pulled some of us together and talked about forming a local chapter of the National Black United Front. So there are four of us that were at the beginning that are still with the group. And we're coming up on our 40th year in October, by the way, 40th anniversary. Myself, Brother John Webster, Samori Grace, Leon Dixon, we were founding members, and we're the founding members that are still with the organization. But it was the same way here in Kansas City. We've been seeing each other around town at various events, doing different things, and none of us really wanted to, and nothing against the civil rights organization, but that just wasn't the direction that we wanted to go in, the whole integrationist movement. And so when we heard about the founding of the National Black United Front, Lloyd went, checked it out, came back, gave us a report. And we said, hey, this sounds like something that we should be a part of. And so we had some local meetings. We made contact. Reverend Daughtry came through Kansas City, and we formed our chapter back in 1981. And of course, as they say, the rest is history. We've done a lot of things. Maybe at some point we'll get into some of them, but we're still here. And we think that we've had a really nice, strong chapter. I mean, you were a part of that for a while. Did a lot of work, international affairs work, as I recall, and we're still doing things. The most recent thing that's of significance is that 2 years ago we had a leadership change. Mm-hmm. A lot of these organizations, they down the vine because the leadership doesn't want to step aside and let young people come to the front. Right. And so what we did was, and that has to be something that has to be done we think methodically. And so what we did was we set up a leadership training, sort of a leadership training academy type thing for the young people in BUF to prepare them for leadership. And so they went through about a 6 or 8 month process with the elders. We told them everything about NBUF, what it takes to lead an organization, some organization tactics, and at the same time understood that this is a new day. You know, a lot of stuff that we did trying to organize people don't work today. You know, Brother Carlos, I mean, with this social media and all this other stuff. So, so it wasn't that we would tell them. I mean, the one thing we never said is, well, look, that's how we used to do it. I mean, it doesn't matter how we used to do it, but the principles of the organization are the same. And so we had a formal leadership transition about 2 years ago. And that's when Brother Jamu, who had been our longtime chair, stepped aside. And so we have a new, young, vibrant leadership team that are in tune with all of the new stuff, you know. And we're playing the role of elders now, which is what I think we should be doing, providing the wisdom and what we've learned. Because as Leon Dixon always says, you know, the young people need to make some new mistakes. You know, don't make the ones we make. And so here we are, 40 years later, still going strong. And
that is very good. You don't know how great it is to hear that you guys are able to keep the organization moving and striving through all the things that happened, particularly through the 90s to 2000 with the, like you said, the boom of the internet and the whole social media, cell phones, the whole change in technology. I mean, there's been quite a bit that happened between when I was there in 1988, 89 up until now, sitting down and having a chance to talk to you, which brings back, there's a lot of things you guys did. A lot of people don't understand that this organization was actually about education, and I do mean education. I mean, I remember especially one of your annual, you got one coming up, your 42nd annual convention, yes, sir. I remember when you had the convention in Chicago, and I had the chance to sit in the presence of Jake Carruthers. I was just blown away just listening to the conversation and what he was trying to develop and getting the young people on board and mentoring them to understand African history and how to do the research and bring all that stuff alive. I mean, we've been in the presence of some giants, man.
Absolutely.
Yes. And this organization, the Kansas City chapter of the Black United Front, really did bring a lot of that information to the forefront here in Kansas City. I remember the many guest speakers we've had here, all on a level to teach. Okay, to teach. And of course, to give some history of the movement. I think that's one of the, you said at the top of the show that you were glad to see that Black people were beginning to find their space in media, in independent media, I would say. And you're very much correct about that. One of the, two shows that I pattern, that I watch on a regular basis, Roland Martin Unfiltered, to get the establishment side of the news, and then Black Power Media on YouTube to get the traditional Black radical left kind of view on things. And to me, that gives me my balance on what I'm hearing throughout the news. You know, even no matter what outlet I happen to go to or stumble upon, I have a balance of information where I could start to put things together in my own mind into what to believe or not to believe and who to support and not to support. So I think it's very important that organizations like the Black United Front, the National Black United Front, is still out there. It's still doing its true mission, its core mission, which is trying to get our people organized, number one, and educated at the same time, because so many of us just don't have the history. Tell you the truth, Brother Dean, I was learning on the job back then. You know, I had awakening because I tell you the truth, I have experienced several racist incidents within my lifetime, even at that young age. And so I was beginning to awaken politically, and I couldn't understand for the life of me what was going on within the two-party system and why our issues could never advance. So the more I couldn't understand it, the more I started to reject it. So I think that's where we're finding a lot of young people today. And I think getting the Black radical tradition back in front of our young people might start steering them in that direction. It's just a comment that I wanted you to speak on.
Yeah, you mentioned that you were learning on the job at the time. Well, I want to tell you, we still learning on the job, bro. This whole thing of developing consciousness, it's a lifelong thing.
Yes.
I mean, you gotta remember, our people for hundreds of years have been drilled with so much backward stuff. Self-hatred, incorrect history about Black people, and a lot of times, some people in the movement erroneously, I think, criticize people for what they don't do and what they don't know. Well, you got to look at how we grew up. I mean, I can go back and tell you some of the things that I used to believe. I grew up as a child in rural Georgia watching Tarzan and Amos and Andy, and that stuff affects you,
Mm-hmm.
And I was just fortunate that when I went to college in Atlanta, it was the height of the Black Power movement. And I got with some sisters and brothers that just opened my eyes to stuff, man. And it's been an ongoing experience since then. And I'm talking about, 50 years ago. So I hate sometimes when I hear this term, well, are you conscious? Are you woke? And that kind of thing, because there's different stages of consciousness or wokeness or whatever you want to call it. And it's a continuum. And so what we have to do when we find people that may not have been as fortunate as us and learned as much as us, our job is to bring them along, to organize them. This movement is about organizing people. It's not just about having knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with that knowledge? How are we organizing our people to better the lives of our sisters and brothers? I mean, that's ultimately what this struggle is all about. We definitely need our scholars. And some of the people you mentioned, like Baba Carruthers, who's an ancestor now, and some of those folks around in Chicago at the time, and G2 Wausi, who's also, Oka Tashak, and so many others. And I've been a part of ASCAC and had a chance to listen to John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben Yakinen and people like that. So our scholars are very necessary. They've done a lot of work that now we don't have to do. We just have to study our scholars. But you have to have the activists also to put that into action and get out here and organize our people. And that's what we've been trying to do over years. Let me just say one other quick thing about NBUF, especially the Kansas City chapter. When we started out, we were activists. We wanted to get involved, and we tried to get involved in everything. I mean, if we hear about something taking place in this part of the city, we were over there. We were over here. I mean, anything that we heard about affecting Black people, we were there. What we discovered was that by just going around to all of these struggles, we really weren't building anything, And what we said was, what we really need to do is focus on 2 or 3 areas. We can't be everything. We one organization, we can't be everything. So let's just focus on some things. You mentioned education. That was one of the things that we focused on. And that culminated in the African Center School over at Southeast. We built that school for like 25 years, man. Culture. We started Kwanzaa. I think this last year was our 37th or 38th Kwanzaa celebration. Mm-hmm. So we do the week-long Kwanzaa. We focus on our young people. We started a Simba and Falami program. Simba is the Young Lions in the Kiswahili program. Falami is Honor and Respect Us, which your sons were a part of. Mm-hmm. And we did that program for about 22 years. And now a couple of the brothers who came up through that program, they have restarted Simba. And so it's still going strong. But that we're talking about, about a 25, 26-year program. As you recall, we used to do African Liberation Day and tribute to Malcolm Weekend. I think you were in charge of that for a while.
Yes, it was.
So that was another tradition. The Emoji Karamu, the Unity Feast. Some people don't particularly get into Thanksgiving, given its history, which is, people who gather for family. We don't knock that. But again, the Emoji Caribou, the Unity Feast, is something that we do on the fourth Sunday of every November. It's another African oriented tradition. So we tried to focus on some things that we could build and institutionalize that would be here for us. We've got this Buy Black campaign that I think we're in our 7th, 8th year of that, trying to develop Black businesses. We hopefully will be opening soon a community credit union. You know, John, when some of the folks have been working on this redevelopment credit union for a long time, that's because so many of our people are unbanked, is the term. They don't have bank accounts. They gotta rely on these check cashing places and just get ripped off, you know. And for various reasons, they can't get accounts at banks. And so we're starting this independent credit union. I mean, a community credit union. So we're trying to put things in place that can be lasting. And now that doesn't mean that we don't support struggles when we can. You know, if there's an issue here, an issue there, we'll assign somebody to go do it. But we really tried to focus on institution building.
And that's so important, is to have a purpose and a focus on what you're doing as an organization, so that you can at some point say that you've reached the goal, or you're within earshot of the goal, or whatever the case may be. And I met the young man that I haven't met him, but I did do an interview with Talib, the young man that's now in charge of the organization, the chair of the organization. Very nice young man, very family oriented. Glad to see that you put the organization in such great hands, because it seems like the brother is really on point and is thinking. But you guys are also connected in different ways on a national level, especially when it comes to reparations. And Mickey, you know, this is the real conversation that I've been dying to have with you concerning reparations. And I'm not even going to ask you why, because to me that's a very, either you're extremely dumb or you haven't been paying attention. And so why is not an issue, that's due. But what are the current things going on locally on reparations on a national level, and what do you see coming out of these new initially, especially on the local levels, now that not only here in Kansas City, but Evanston, Illinois, I hear Los Angeles, and even Chicago may be looking at something very similar?
Well, let me go back to the question when you said why, and there's no need to ask that question. The truth of the matter, Carlos, is that there's a need to ask that question, because there are a lot of our people that don't understand the reparations movement. I mean, they hear the term reparations, and the first thing they think about, oh, I'm getting a check, you know. They don't know the history of the reparations movement, where it came from, and how we got to the point we are now. I can tell you, if you look at the NBUF Constitution, which was presented in 1980, one of the key points in there is reparations for Black people. So we've been on this issue for a long time. And then the National Coalition for Black Reparations in America was, in COBRA, was formed in 1987, and they're kind of the leading organization of this movement. When we started talking about reparations in Kansas City, I can just go back 10 years ago. You know, people have said, man, you know, y'all crazy, man, or this ain't gonna happen, man. Why y'all wasting time with this, you know? And people will just kind of fluff it off, you know. But reparations is something that we think that we'll do, and it's not only for the free labor that we gave during slavery, while we were enslaved, but also everything that's happened since then. I mean, we've been oppressed and discriminated against and denied from that point to this point. And so a lot of folks will say, well, you talk about reparations, that's in the past, why are we still talking? We're still talking about it because the effects of that enslavement and the subsequent oppression are still in our community. You know, it's still with us. All you gotta do is look at the condition of Black folks, you know? And one of the things we talk about, for example, is the wealth gap. The white wealth gap, the white wealth, median net worth is 10 times the median net worth of Black folks, right? And that ain't because white folks work harder than we do or smarter than we are. It's because they have had advantages from day one. And there are studies that have said that in order for Black folks to close that wealth gap, if we just do the kind of things that we've been doing, you know, affirmative action, diversity, inclusion, and, you know, civil rights, those kind of things, it could take us 200 years to close that wealth gap. And like I mentioned in that interview, with Channel 9, most of us ain't got 200 years, you know. And so the only way that you can make that kind of substantial step is through reparatory justice. And that's why we fight for reparations. There's been a lot of advances made in the reparations movement. I mean, really in the last 10 years. You've seen things like, finally, John Conyers introduced H.R. 40, which is reparations legislation in Congress, every year, beginning in 1989, every single year. And finally, this year, for the first time, under the leadership of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Representative Conyers is an ancestor now, it's going to get a hearing before the full House of Representatives, hopefully later on this summer. You see local cities now passing reparations ordinances. You mentioned Evanston, Illinois, and there are other cities, Asheville, North Carolina, St. Paul, Minnesota, of all these places, who are forming, who are passing reparations ordinances. Now we passed a resolution here in Kansas City. Our city council passed a resolution in support of H.R. 40, but we believe that in addition to fighting for H.R. 40 national reparations, there are institutions locally that are responsible for historically the underdevelopment, the oppression of Kansas City's Black community, and they need to pay. They owe us. Education institutions. I mean, all of the years that there was little money put into education of Black folks, you know, and you know, when the education is based on property taxes, a lot of property taxes for the lowest. So all the money flew to the white neighborhoods, and that's why they had the best schools. Housing. I mean, one of the main architects of segregated housing is J.C. Nichols. You know, starting back in the 40s when he headed up he was very influential in the National Housing Administration. And he was one of the ones that created this whole redlining thing that spread around the country, which means that Black folks couldn't get mortgages, Black folks couldn't live in certain neighborhoods. A home is oftentimes the primary wealth in a lot of Black families, and so when you deny that, we would deny benefits from the GI Bill, for example. That's how a lot of white folks ended up getting mortgages and ended up getting money for college. I mean, and healthcare. I mean, look at the lack of healthcare facilities, the lack of good nutrition. I mean, it's just so much stuff that we think that institutions in Kansas City are also responsible, and so that's why we formed a local reparations coalition that's made up of several organizations here in the city. And there's been some other cracks. I mean, some of these religious institutions have understood, like Georgetown University, which I think is a Jesuit institution. They realized that Georgetown would not exist right now if it had not been for slave labor and selling slaves. And so what they're trying to do now is what they call reparations, by trying to find the descendants of those folks and give them free education. The Presbyterian Church and a couple other religious institutions have finally decided to acknowledge that they wouldn't exist had it not been for either owning slaves, selling slaves, or insuring slaves. And so they're putting millions of dollars now into these reparation coffers to try to do some repairing of their damage. So the movement is slowly but surely taking shape. It's coming to fruition. It's still a long, tough fight. Don't get me wrong. This is a long, hard fight. White folks ain't down with this for the most part, man. You know, they don't understand that they didn't have reparations all their life, and their grandparents' life, and their great grandparents' life. But that's the fight that we have to make. Right. And one final thing about reparations is what we call internal reparations. This is something we have to do for ourselves. I mean, we have been psychologically damaged all of these years. And this has a lot to do with why our community is in the shape it's in. And so we've got to repair ourselves psychologically, mentally. You know, as Bart Marler says in this song, what is it? Eradicate yourself from mental slavery or something like that. I mean, we've got to get these shackles off our minds now, man. So that's another part of it.
That's a whole different thing, brother, because, you know, I spend a lot of time talking with people that I know. And when you get into the whole political tip, generally, unless they have some bomb blast criticism or a boogeyman to talk about Trump, they really don't want to get too deep into the discussion. My thing is also now a challenge toward capitalism. I'm beginning to see the evils of capitalism. And I know a lot of people say, well, what's the alternative? Well, when you get a system that feeds upon itself and it's designed that way, sooner or later you're going to consume yourself. So,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
you,
I mean,
you know,
when you have a system that's based on primarily profit motive, so you look at, for example, why we don't have adequate housing. Well, there ain't no profit in low income housing, right? Profits in this luxury housing and gentrification, and so that's why people want to put money. Healthcare. I mean, the pharmaceutical companies and the hospitals, they want to keep. They don't want Medicare for all. They don't want universal insurance because it's not profitable. Never mind the fact that folks dying, folks sick, folks can't get out of healthcare. It's not profitable for everybody to be healthy. Education. Now you've got these. They're trying to privatize education now.
right.
To take education away from public schools, to take money out of the public schools, to make profit. This country goes to war to steal other people's natural resources and for profit. So I've always, I won't say always, but I for a long time I've been anti-capitalist. And you're right. I mean, there's been some problems in terms of trying to develop a different way of living. But there is a different way of living where we can talk about a cooperative economics and a cooperative lifestyle, as opposed to individuals becoming super rich by exploiting other people.
Yeah, and then as I have gotten deeper into looking at the Black Power movement's past in its totality, I'm beginning to realize that a lot of them brothers were Marxist-Leninists.
Well, let me just interject 1 second. My introduction, when I talk to some people about Marxist economics nowadays, and people say, "Oh man, you've been around in white folks." You know what my introduction to Marxist economics was the Black Panther Party. Okay, when I was at Emory University in Atlanta back in 1969-70, we would go over to the Black Panther office over on what was then Hunter Street, is King now. And every week they'd have political education classes. And if you go back and look at some of those old Black Panther newspapers, Hewitt Newton used to write the Centerfold, and he began to talk about imperialism and capitalism and those kind of things. That was my introduction. And then when I began to read people like Kwame Nkrumah, and then people like Kwame Ture, when I got introduced to them, who was Stokely Carmichael, and those organizations came from a socialist orientation, socialism as an economic system. One of the things that Kwame Ture used to say was that Marx didn't invent socialism. He basically identified it in industrial society. But the idea of cooperative economics is something that goes back in African history. And so it's something that we shouldn't be afraid of, but they made socialism such a boogeyman now that everybody's just scared to say it, although that's changing, by the way.
But see, that's our biggest problem. We don't understand that a lot of the things that we're experiencing are part of the African tradition anyway. Well, the way we did things naturally in our natural habitat when we were left alone just to be us. These folks came in and what they call being civilized, I call totally uncivil. Look at our society today. You call this civil? I can't. I mean, it's, I see so many, I'm going to say this and then we'll get back on point. I see so many young men walking down the streets with their pants going below their behind. And I want to tell them so badly, young man, please show me some respect and pull up your pants. But I'm afraid of the reaction. Hate to say it.
Yeah, well, here's my response to that. And I've learned this through 30 plus years of mentoring. A lot of times we're harsh on our young people because we see them do things. By the way, stuff that some of us did when we were young too, just different stuff.
Yeah.
But when we see that kind of behavior from young people, what I find, Carlos, is that rather than just kind of jumping on them, what we got to do is capture those brothers, and pull them into the fold, show them that we care about them, show them that we've got love for them, and that we ain't out here just to jump on that. And what we find is that they start listening to you. Once they really begin to understand that you care about them, because they used to get beat down by people, and that turns them off. Man, pull up your pants, that kind of stuff.
Oh no.
It's a matter of, okay, what can we create to bring these young people in so that they can, because a lot of times ain't nobody caring for them really. They don't feel no love, man, from a lot of these brothers. And so we've got to create institutions. That's why we try to do, we did Simba, to bring these young brothers in, show them that here, there's some men in this community that care about y'all. And once they understand that, their whole attitude towards you changes. Now, this is something I've just learned over the years. So I think that's the approach we have to take to some of this behavior out there. Now, some of this behavior, this killing and stuff, is stuff that you do have to snap on, But some of this other stuff are things that it's just a matter of bringing these brothers into the fold and just showing them something different. But it all starts with the fact that they know you care about them. And so now they're going to say, oh, man, well, I would do this, but, Mr. Dean, he might have something to say about that. And they don't want to upset Mr. Dean or Mr. Carr or Mr. West. That's the kind of thing that I've noticed about these young people. And they respond to you. So you have to really approach them out of love and out of care, and then you'll get a response from them.
That's a good word. That's a good word. That's absolute truth, and I know it because a lot of times when I have to go after my grandsons or a nephew or somebody, it's like, hey, bro, you know better. Come on, respect me. That's what I tell them. Just respect me. Respect my house. Mm-hmm. That's all I want you to do. But getting back on point, Mickey.
That was on point, bro. Everything we talk about is on point, man.
Yeah, that's very, very true. But I don't want to stray too far because I can take you on a tantrum if you allow me to. I was going down that road, and you brought up the tradition of the Black radical left. My next question to you, is it time for Black America to make that left turn?
Well, I think it's past time. I'm not exactly sure what you mean about left turn, but I think that our goal is, to the extent possible in this country, some independence and self-determination, developing our own institutions and our own radical traditions. I mean, we need our own educational institutions, our social institutions, financial institutions, economic institutions. I mean, people want to say, well, you're Black separatist. Well, it ain't about that. It's just that I ain't trying to continue to try to integrate into folks that don't want us nowhere, and whose method of living does us no good as Black people. They don't respect us. They don't like us. You mentioned that I did work in civil rights when I was working for the city, and part of that was fair housing, and I read about a study that said that how neighborhoods change. That if you have a white neighborhood, and if more and more Black people move into that neighborhood, at a point there's a tipping point where white folks say, okay, it's too many, we got to go. And it doesn't matter. It didn't matter about the economic level of the neighborhood. I mean, look at Kansas City. At one point, Black folks lived 27th Street and north. Then they began to move further south, 35th Street, 47th. Well, the further south they moved, the white folks moved, further south. Then the white folks moved out to Raytown. Well, Black folks moved out to Raytown. They left Raytown, went to Blue Springs. Next thing gonna be on the moon somewhere. But they have shown historically they don't want to be with us.
Right.
And so my question is, why do we want to be with them? I don't. I just don't want them to oppress me. I ain't trying to oppress them. But I think that I really believe that as a community, if we could gain a certain amount of independence, that's difficult to do in this country, which is why we also talk about liberating Africa as our homeland. But I think that what I'm seeing is that our movement needs to continue to develop towards independence and self-determination, and quit trying to move in with these white folks, man. They ain't about us. They don't want us. They don't like us. And they ain't doing us no good.
I hear you, Mickey, and you got a point. And one of the things that I can contest to is that when you're in the movement, and especially when you have young people, you got to be about it, man, day in, day out. trying to be of it and be you at the same time, and I'll explain that in a little deeper detail, doesn't get the job done. You get off point. You get too many things that take you in different directions. I can tell through people like you, Brother Webster, Brother Dixon, that you brothers have been committed to this thing to the point that you have lived it. And I have seen interaction with you and your relatives, and Brother Mickey sure is black. That brother, I mean, he ain't talking about skin color. They're talking about your world. When you walk into Brother Dean's house, you know, when Brother Dean sits down and starts to have a conversation with you, those are the things that he's talking about. And you got to be about that to be real. And I'm passing that on to a lot of young brothers that are out there. And I want you to understand that if you're going to be into this thing, you got to be into it 110%. You got to give up them old crazy street ways. You got to get committed to what you're doing in order to get this thing moving. Because I believe we're at a point, Brother Dean, that if our people don't start to realize the danger that we're really in, especially in today's environment where you had the white supremacists stoked so that they could come up and out of the woodwork and just kind of show themselves to remind us they're still there. Well, you got to understand history too, and how history repeats itself. And 100 years ago, they had all that big hoopah about Tulsa, Oklahoma. They got to realize that was 100 years ago. History can repeat itself if we're not prepared to do what we got. But Mickey, before I really get off of this, I'm going to go in one more direction. I think we got about 14 minutes left. And this part of this discussion is what really concerns me. I watch a lot of YouTube now that I'm retired and just sitting around, and I'm looking at all these different platforms. I'm hearing all these different opinions. I'm hearing all this talk about who's woke and who ain't and all that. And the one thing I'm not hearing is, how do we bring resources together? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm not hearing. Mm-hmm. You know, you look at these platforms out there, like I told you, Roland Martin, Unfiltered. I mean, there's got to be some money behind this, brother. If you can come on every day with a whole crew and be on for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, you got to pay folks to do this kind of work. So that means you got some money going in. Black Power Media with Jared Ball and them, these brothers are scrapping, trying to do their thing. But at the same time, they're doing the same thing. And they're not bringing all the resources together. And I know black folks got a problem with sharing resources, bringing things together so that we can get the best. I'm also seeing that there's a lot of fake ass, and excuse my language, but a lot of fake ass news out there that are broadcasting to black folks and use things like the Black News Network and ain't black. Mm-hmm. My point is twofold. And just to get your insight on this, what can black folks do to realize, especially in this crowded field that everybody's trying to get in, they call media? I'm not trying to be a YouTuber, even though I broadcast to YouTube. I could care less about all of that. What I care about is the content that I'm trying to get out to people, knowing about people like yourself, the work that you have done in the community, and other things. People should know these type of things so that we can understand who our real warriors are. And I didn't get to the political side of it because I hope in 2 weeks I'm sitting down with Councilman Barnes. Mm-hmm. So let me just go ahead and back this thing up and bring it to you in a way. In all your experience within the movement, why can't we develop and share resources and do these things in the broader spirit of unity?
Well, you know, Carlos, if I could answer that, I mean that's the $1 million question, as they say. I think a lot of it goes back to capitalist philosophy, and that is individualism. I need to get mine, you know, and we've lost that collective spirit. Post slavery, there was a lot of collectivism in the Black community because we had to do things collectively in order to survive. You know, you had these what was called mutual aid societies where communities pool their monies to bury somebody or to buy food for somebody. I mean, it was out of necessity. We had to turn inward and work together and do things, you know, as collectively as a people. But then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, they let a few of us in here, a few of us in there. We were able to do things with other people and get away, and they allowed some of us to start making our way in the white world and so forth and so on. And that whole individualist thing kind of took over, and we lost a lot of that collective spirit. There's a book, and I'm not going to remember the name of it now, but a sister wrote a book that dealt with the history of collective economic development in the Black community historically. I read that book, and it just opened my eyes to the amount of collective effort that Black people made once upon a time, pooling resources, you know, and it was working, you know. But I think that you know, at some point, white folks say, you know, yeah, we segregate these folks. You know, some of these folks got money that we can start having some of their money, you know. And they began to integrate and say, okay, now you can go here, you can go there. And we lost that sense of collectivity. But I'm hopeful, Carlos, I'm beginning to see people now beginning to understand that we have got to have more collective development, that it ain't about just individuals. That's still there. You know, I mean, you got folks that want to be the richest person on the block. But I think other folks now are beginning to look at the importance of collective development. I don't know if you're familiar with Brother Chokwe Lumumba. He was the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi at one time before he died. Right. And he was trying to develop a whole collective operation in Jackson, Mississippi, trying to create situations where Black folks could pool their resources and work together. So we could do it in education. You know, we could do it in media. I'm not, of course, as media savvy, you know, as people as yourself. But I just see a lot of folks, you know, they get these media platforms and everybody wants to be the one. I don't know how you collectivize. I mean, how you make that collective. I don't know that much about the media and especially this new technology and how that would work. But I know in terms of education, economics, finances, those kind of healthcare, I mean, we can start pooling resources and develop our own institutions. It's just something that we have to continue to work with.
Well, as far as the technology, Mickey, if you got a cell phone, you got access to being your own media outlet. All you got to do is get on there and get them live broadcast out there. Let them know what's on your mind. I think we need to hear a lot from brothers like you, Brother Ajamu. I know Brother Ajamu got a lot on his plate with his business and his family, and although his family should be all grown up by now.
Oh yeah, he's got his grandkids have grown up almost.
Yeah, well, see, that's how long I was gone. So you're right, and I am looking to sitting down and having a conversation with that brother in the near future. You heard me say that I have Councilman Lee Barnes coming on, and he is directly out of the ranks of the Black United Front, the Kansas City chapter of the Black United Front. And
Jamu, of course, would be a great person because he has. The brother's just a wealth of information, resources, continue to do work. I mean, he's the key person behind this credit union. So, I mean, you definitely need to have that brother.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to it, to tell you the truth. There's just, where's my sound go? Suddenly I lost my sound, brother. Are you still there?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. But suddenly I'm looking at my other meters over here and my sound is gone. There we go. I was just checking to make sure we had things going. But yes, I am looking forward to sitting down with Brother Ajamu and with Councilman Lee Barnes. I'm hoping at some point Councilman Barnes will get me linked in to have that conversation. And what do you know about our current mayor, Brother Quentin Lucas?
Not a lot. Now, I will say this. I think that he has been under a lot of pressure from the Black community lately.
Yeah.
And he has began to show some signs that he's trying to shake himself loose from some of the holes that I thought that the white corporate war had on him. For example, one of the things that came as a complete shock to us, there's a group of 11 mayors that have formed this Mayors Organized for Reparations and Equity. He's one of the members of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're trying to get with him now to see what this is all about. He's finally starting to take a stance against the police department and the union and the police board. He's fine. You know, he was the only vote that voted to take that money away from the police. So he comes to some of the meetings in the Black community and he listens. So I think he's starting to listen. He's learning a lot. And so I mean, he ain't one of us, obviously, but I think he's a person that can be useful to some of the things that we're trying to do in Kansas City. I'll just say that, you know.
Kansas City has grown up quite a bit since I've been gone. Not only that I now live back in Raytown where I was living before I left Kansas City, and that was an eye-opening thing when I got back here and realized how Black Raytown is, old Raytown and new Raytown. I'm talking about it. It's gone all the way out. Well, we already knew Grandview was happening before I left here, but now it's all the way out. I actually know that we're now in Independence and Blue Springs.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing we're working on Liberty.
Yeah, you know, I gauge those neighborhoods because I'm a big fan of high school sports, you know. And when I started watching high school sports, you know, Raytown, South, Center, Grandview, all the athletic teams are white kids, you know.
Right.
Now all them teams are Black, man. And now you go to white Blue Springs. I mean, you see more Black athletes in Blue Springs, Lee Summit, you know, and not as many in Liberty, but you know, Black folks are moving further and further south. They're spread, and of course, white folks still running away. You know, they can't take so many of us.
But this leads me to an interesting thing because it seems like now I don't have those details in front of me, Mickey, but if I remember right, Kansas City City Council is not that large. I mean, the actual sitting body is like either 9 or 12, right?
Well, it's 12 members plus the mayor.
12 members plus the mayor. And if I understand correctly, we got a fourth of that council, don't we?
Well, there are four Black council people. There are 2 in the 3rd district and 2 in the 5th district. I think it's 4 right now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll give us you said it was 4?
Yeah, 4 of the 12.
Okay. Well, that gives us a little more power than we normally would have.
Yeah.
If we're working together.
Yeah. Well, this group, you know, with Lee and Brandon and Melissa and the other sisters, they are all pretty much tied to the Black community, and so I mean I'm pleased with, you know, what they can get done as a council. I mean, they've all done a lot of good things since they've been on the council. So I think we've got some good council people.
And I see that even to the fact that I'm wish I was living in Kansas City so I could be a little bit more active in the politics there. But that's one of the reasons I'm reaching out to Brother Lee Barnes to have him come on and give me some updates on what's going on and what that power structure is like from the inside. If there's some things they can actually do to give us more control of our local politics and dollars. Because Brother Lee sits on the finance committee, if I remember correctly.
I think he's the chair. If I'm not
How's
mistaken.
it finance, isn't it?
Finance, but I think he's the chair of that committee. I don't keep up with that as much as I did when I was in City Hall. You know, I used to know all of that stuff, but I just don't keep up with it as much. You know, I talk to Lee and he tell me what's going on.
But we got just a couple of minutes left in the interview time, Mickey, and what I want to do is just give people an opportunity to be able to get in touch with you, to get to know a little bit more about you if you're available for speaking or things of that nature. Why don't you give people some information about you?
Can I make one shameless plug before we go?
Okay.
Early on, you mentioned the 42nd National Black Unite Convention. And I just want to let people know that it's coming up this weekend, the 10th and 11th. Kansas City chapter is hosting it this year. It is virtual and it's free. And all you have to do is go to Eventbrite and put in 42nd NBUF. and you'll see how you can register. You have to register for Saturday and register again for Sunday. It's free, but the way the registration is set up, you have to make a contribution, a donation of at least $1. And we've got some interesting folks that are coming. We've got a presentation by Letitia Jacobs. She's a sister that started a gun club for women. Brother Malik Yakina from Detroit, he's going to talk about food sovereignty. Brother Calvin Mohammed from the local nation is going to talk about community self-defense and individual self-defense. We've got our brother Chair Talib and his wife. They're going to head a discussion on Black in Love. And then on Sunday, we have a session by Sister Dr. Krista Higgins from Sacramento, and she's going to talk about the importance of the mental health aspect of Black liberation. She's an African-centered psychologist. And so if you go to the Kansas City Black United Front Facebook page or website, you can get all the information. But I'm really inviting people to come out to our convention and participate. It's virtual. You can sit at home, and Saturday and Sunday.
2 quick questions about that. Are you guys going to be releasing any recordings of the particular meetings that are going on throughout the convention?
You know, I don't know, and that's a good question. That's something I need to find out, but I don't know.
Okay.
We're using the Zoom platform, so obviously there's an opportunity for it to be recorded.
Yes, it is definitely an opportunity, and I would love to pop in and maybe do a little broadcast of it, but of course I want to go through the proper channel. Don't want to hurt anybody's feeling or take any opportunity for money away from anybody, because like I said, my platform is not about money, it's about the information. So with that, Mr. Dean, I do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. Really, Kansas City, you don't know how much of a jewel this brother is. I know for a fact that this brother is the real deal. He lives the work he talks about. The brother is true. He has raised up probably more men in this city than most combined fathers. I mean, the brother has been in the business and doing this for a while. He's real. And I want people to know his legacy, be able to know that name, Mickey Dean, and the work that you have done in the city of Kansas City, Missouri, and understand what that legacy is about. I think it's very important that you share that.
Well, I appreciate that, Carlos, and I appreciate these platforms. You know, so anytime anybody invites me to come on one of these platforms, I'm always willing to do it. I'm an elder now, and we're turning things over to these youngsters, man. We're there. There's a saying about elders up for wisdom, youngsters up for warfare, or something like that. You know, so I'm not leading anything anymore. I'm supportive now. You know, and I'm trying to support these young people and provide them with all this time I've been in the movement, if I ain't learned something, man, then something wrong. You know, so I'm just trying to share what I've learned with these young people so that this legacy can continue. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, you're very welcome, Mickey. And being an elder is something that you can really be proud of, which you are, but a lot of people don't understand what goes into that statement when you say, I'm an elder. Okay? There's a lot rolled into that, other than I'm old. You ain't just saying that. I have some wisdom. I have some knowledge to go along with that. And I know how to depart that wisdom. That is the difference. And when this gentleman says elder, when you generally talk about the elders of our community, the difference is he's willing to be a true elder and pass that information down. Now, they get to a point where they give him the title of a Baba. That shows his wisdom and his and to depart that wisdom. So, Brother Mickey Dean, for the first time, I'm going to use the term Baba Mickey Dean. Thank you for your time, and keep your energy strong. Give your love to your beautiful wife, Sandra, by the way. And thank you very much for coming on the show. You enjoy your evening.
Anytime, Carlos.
Yes, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep it rolling. We got just a few more things we're going to take care of this evening. You noticed the red hat. You noticed I haven't worn hats in a while, but I had to show this one off, y'all. Look at that feather. I went, found a place downtown. I was out and about during the weekend. decided to go down the first Friday, decided to get out and about, get down to Crown Center, see Union Station and all that. Had nothing to do with the fact that it was the 4th of July, but had everything to do with that we needed to get out and do some things. So I found this wonderful little hat place called The Missing Piece. Hats for all occasion. Brother Michael Miller is the owner. You can reach him and buy a very beautiful hat like the one I'm wearing. You can buy that hat. He's located at 2450 Grand Boulevard, Suite 226 here in Kansas City, Missouri. And again, that is downtown Crown Center. I also had the pleasure of getting and meeting with another young man. He's also a entrepreneur. He has I Am KC. Brother Walt Lee, thank you. Thank you, brother. This brother's got some nice apparel. Check this out. See that Gates theme going on with the apparel there? You see the Gates to my right over here. You see the lids up, the sauce going over, making the C, and you know that familiar figure there that's making up the K. I Am KC. Brother Walt, thank you again for selling and taking the picture with my wife and I. Look here, you really know my nephew, A1. Aaron Thomas, that's who you really know. My son is Aaron's cousin, okay? So he knows you through Aaron. So the real deal is A1 is the one that made this connection, brother. But it was a pleasure meeting you, and it's a pleasure that you posted that pic to your Instagram. Thank you very much for that. And with that, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up, but I had to share those two things with you. I really enjoy it. I'm going to leave y'all with a little picture in mind here for a few minutes. And with that, you guys enjoy your night. Please, please, guys, learn to turn it down, man. There's a point in time where things get out of hand, and what you really need to do is, rather than to turn it up, you need to turn it down. Just turn it down. Also, know the value of a doorknob. Things get too hot for you, grab the doorknob, open the door, and leave. Those are smart things to do. That's a little KCOG wisdom for you. Think about that, y'all. Learn how to use a doorknob, understand the value of a doorknob, and turn it down, y'all. Please turn it down out there. Y'all turned up way too much. We need to turn it down. With that, y'all, love each other. Peace and blessings. We'll catch you in a couple of weeks. You heard me announce that we'll have Councilman Lee Barnes in with me. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with that brother. So tune in 2 weeks. Again, get ready. An intelligent response to a historical problem, y'all. It's time to get ready. Get your mind right. Get your body right. Get your spirit right. It's time to get ready. With that, everyone, have a good night. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks.